All right,
We're
so the
live.
Hangout is live. Don't know if anyone is listening yet.
Sports
Um,
Friends is rad.
it is red. Ah, boy. I'm trying to find. Still don't see it on YouTube, but I think it took a second to get up there last time, if I remember correctly. Hmm. Oops. Are you seeing anything yet? Are you looking? You're probably not looking.
No, now I'm looking. I wasn't at first because it's from the NWR exclusive channel.
It should
Or
be.
oh yeah, yeah, here
You
it
found
is.
it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm not seeing it for some reason. All right, well, I'll just copy the link when you tweet it.
I just tweeted it.
All right.
Except I just had that fucking video going on at the same time, so I was just like, "What, Scott? You're talking twice."
What time do your review go up? Was it midnight?
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning.
I was not up, but
Yeah.
I did wake up at like 7:30 because I'm like, I need to make sure it went fine.
Okay, well, I guess we should be entertaining because there's a chance
Yeah.
people are watching now.
Hi,
Um,
everybody. We're
Hi.
tweeting out about this so that way other people can listen.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get started, I guess, at least with the introductions. My name is Scott. I'm with Neal Ronahan.
Hello.
And Neal wrote the review of Mario Kart 8 that shook the world.
Well, I
Uh,
guess so. Don Koopman and I both reviewed Mario Kart 8. I had the North American copy and he had the European. And we had a weird group think where completely separately, I talked to him briefly like a week before the review, like we both read the reviews. Um, and we wound up each giving it a 7.5, which is also not the lowest. Screw Attack gave it a 7 out of 10, but definitely skewing lower. Um, I did enjoy the game, but I mean, it's more of the same. I wish single player was better. I don't think a lot of the new additions, namely Mario Kart TV, really add much. I guess to summarize.
yeah. um, and so, I mean, I think the telling thing is that you guys weren't alone. You know, that there were also review scores in that range. Um, so it's not like you guys are outliers or anything.
Yeah.
All right, let me start this video, and I think we can go ahead and get started. So this video you'll be watching is just Neal's video review. You can watch that on YouTube if you want to hear him also explain his thoughts about Mario Kart 8 while watching some pretty footage of the game. Um, so let's talk, Neal, maybe about some of the. Well, you could do it on multiplayer, but let's talk about the non-online stuff. It's like the Grand Prix mode. What did you think overall about the Grand Prix mode, the tracks they brought back, new tracks, all that kind of stuff?
I really enjoyed racing through the tracks. They're all, for the most part, they're really fun, and they don't like with Mario Kart 7. One of my big complaints with that was that they added in, the glider and the underwater stuff, but they didn't really do that much with it. Like it felt like
Mm,
only certain races made use of that, and it would be like the glider. I think there was probably two or three instances in all of the 32 tracks in Mario Kart 7 where the gliders were used to any kind of interesting effect. Because for the most part, it would be like you're going off a jet. There's the guy. Okay, you're down. You're back on the ground.
yeah.
Or it was like, a couple races. Although it was cool when, like, I think they had Koopa Beach from the N64 version was in Mario Kart 7, and you could go underwater there, and it
Right.
was kind of like a mind-bending thing because I've played that race many, many times, and I could never do that before. I just
Yeah.
had Lakitu come over and be like, "No, dude, don't do that."
You're dumb.
Um, and then in Mario Kart 8, they took more advantage of that. There was a lot more interesting glider things. There's even a lot of segments where it's like you can kind of optionally go off a jump and use the glider, so you'll have a lot of moments where people are using the glider and then other people aren't, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like you'll see a computer player do that and be like, how do I do that?
Right.
Maybe your next lap you try to do that. The underwater stuff is still kind of like, I wouldn't say hit or miss, but it's like there's very specific sections, and the only thing it does is in certain levels, like if you mess up and fall in the water, you're not doomed.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you move a lot slower in the water, or do you move
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
slower?
I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same kind of like floaty physics
Yeah.
that were in Mario Kart 7.
Okay.
And then the zero gravity stuff is cool too. But outside of being a neat visual trick, I didn't really notice too much different with it. I mean, you do have the spin dash thing where you can bump into other cars and kind of spin around. I didn't play as much of like the team racing, but I imagine that that would be a really devious tactic to do when you do like the 6-on-6 team racing, which I used to actually do a lot in Mario Kart Wii.
Hmm.
Um, but because you could essentially like have a couple people being in the front, and then when you're in a zero gravity area, just bump into each other over and over again and keep on getting a boost.
Right.
Because the way the boost works, as far as I can tell, is that like if you were to bump into two different people, then you get like more of a boost than if you just bumped into one person. You can kind of like chain it together.
Okay. So yeah,
Which
you could really like.
it's a neat tweak. Like,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like even I found as I was playing it with people locally, a lot of these people weren't really following Mario Kart 8. It was just kind of like friends and family that I was like, "Hey, new Mario Kart, you in?" And they'd be like, "Yeah." Um, I wouldn't even explain it to them at first because it is like a kind of weird concept,
Yeah.
and then usually they'd kind of discover it on their own.
Hmm.
But I kind of found it telling that as I was explaining, like, here's the new stuff about Mario Kart 8, I would kind of gloss over that because it's not really that big of a part of it.
Right, and maybe just more complicated to explain than being actually like necessary, being worth that trouble, I guess. So we were talking a little bit before we started, but you can do all the Grand Prix stuff with up to 4 people locally.
Yes.
Can you do
And I
that?
don't think you could do that in Mario Kart. I don't think you could do that in Mario Kart 7. I know you know for a fact you couldn't do it in anything prior to that.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I like that. And like you were saying, even if you're playing with tons of people, um, as long as one of you wins the race, then you unlock the whatever character
Yeah.
is tied to that
And
cup.
I think all the coins that you earn across the 4 players playing, they all add up to getting new car parts. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Some
okay.
of that seemed weird because there was like one time where I did like a race and then I unlocked a car part and then I did like another race and it was like, hey, you unlocked more. And that was like single player by myself. Like it seems kind of, I don't know. It says it's 50 every 50 coins you get a new part. And I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's all randomized like Mario Kart 7 and even the character unlocking appears to be randomized, although I'm not 100% sure. I didn't like go through and make different save files so I could be like, do you unlock Lemmy when you race this on 100cc?
Yeah.
That didn't seem worth it as much.
um, so speaking of those unlockables, the like car parts or cart parts and stuff that kind of works like how it's worked in the past. I mean, you just unlock
Yeah,
different wheels and chassis and stuff like that, and
there
go from
seems to
there.
be a little more variety in how some stuff kind of handles.
Hmm.
Um, or I guess not in how it handles, but like it seems like the bikes and the carts and then the ATVs, like they all just have a different feel to them. And there's no wheelies or anything. There's no big differences there. But it's kind of even with the stats that you make for them, each of those three feels completely different. And I quickly gravitated towards bikes. I know other people still prefer carts. I also preferred bikes in Mario Kart Wii as well, though.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I am keeping an eye out on my personal Twitter at Enron10, and also the Nintendo World Report Twitter. So if you want to ask us a question, we kind of suck at Google Hangouts. I don't know if there's a way to get some sort of chat here.
Yeah.
But if you want to ask us a question, just hit me up on Twitter on
That's
either
gonna be the best way. Yeah. Enron
Nintendo
10.
Enron10 or Nintendo underscore NWR, and
Yeah, if you've got
we'll get
questions.
to it at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about some of the multiplayer stuff then, both online and then the battle mode. Let's start with racing online. Um, I mean, how did it work? Was it fluid? Was it smooth? I mean, did you have any problems?
I mean, it's a little tough to completely judge the online because you're not really dealing with the full weight of having a bunch of people there. Whenever I would search for online matches, it would be like joining a match with four other people, and I'd recognize it. It'd be like, oh, it's Jose from IGN. Looks like the guy from Game Explains there. Like it's all the reviewers playing it.
Sure,
I
sure.
raced a couple races with which I don't know if where they were from, but I guess the time that I was playing must have been ripe for people to play in Europe because I just saw like it was like me and like six dudes with European flags. I'm like, all right, this is fun. Um, and it works really nicely. And even when you're like Mario Kart 7, when you're waiting to join in, you can watch the current race and go between all the players racing then,
Oh, cool.
which is kind of nice. Then you kind of know like, all right, that I still have 2 laps. I can go up and get water and then come back, and it's probably gonna start.
Sure. And then
Um,
you could just stay in the same race with the same people, just go from race to race to race until you're done.
Yeah, yeah. And then
That's
I
cool.
mean, it's the kind of thing where like it takes you out to like a doofy looking picture of all the Mii's on a world map, and then you
Yeah.
pick your races, and then it uh, randomly selects one, and then you go and do it. Um, Friends matches kind of works the same way, except for in the lobby, you can talk to each other, but it's kind of like once it picks the race, it's like, all right, we're done. Stop talking, guys. It's ready. It's time to race.
Because you can't talk during the race, right?
No, which I didn't when I first heard that I didn't think it would bum me out as much, and then when I
Hmm.
actually played it, it bummed me out a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because I like talking smack during races with friends,
Well, yeah.
and
I mean,
there's
when I think of
something
like all my favorite Mario Kart experiences, it's definitely with just like four people around a couch, just talking shit to each other.
yeah, and for some people that might not make that big of a difference. I know I was talking to some people who were just like, well, I talk with people on Skype anyway when I play games,
Hmm.
so if you're going to do that, then awesome. I mean, I've done that. I used to do that for Wii games a lot
Yeah.
because outside of Animal Crossing, what used Wii Speed didn't. I guess Contra 2 might have, but even
I
still, Wii
think
Speed was
so.
not optimal.
No.
Um, and I just wish voice chat was available during the races because I think, I think the lack of voice chat during races will mean that I will play way less online than I kind of thought I would because
Really?
I didn't think that would be like a deal breaker for me until I played it and kind of compared it to playing locally with friends, and I realized how much I loved, being able to kind of, taunt, being like, oh, baby Rosalina's in first, suck it, Peach, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And even that's probably my favorite part of Mario Kart TV is that when you're done a race, because Mario Kart TV is kind of hokey in how it works. Because at the end of every race, it'll have this by default it'll have a 30-second highlight reel that will focus on the active playable characters, like the actual player characters.
Hmm.
And you can kind of just watch that and slow it down, but it does this thing where it'll be like, here's Koopa Troopa and he's throwing a green shell, and then there will be this like awkwardly long fade to black, and it'll show like the green shell hitting someone, and then another awkward fade to black, and it'll show Koopa Troopa cheering.
Hmm.
Like it's charming in its hokiness, but it is kind of hokey.
Yeah.
And you can mess with that and edit it and change the focus characters. You can change it to like action or items or big hits. And I would like it when I would change it to big hits, and it would just be like, here's Waluigi racing through half the race. And there's half of the highlight reel. It's just
Everybody.
Waluigi going forward. And it's like, where did Waluigi finish? I don't know, like eighth. Like, and that's kind of the fun in it, and that like as beautiful as it looks and everything, it's kind of dumb.
Hmm.
Um, and then slowing it down can be fun, where it's just like, oh, look at that big hit. And I noticed sometimes where like, because it will show you stuff like the green shell, the red shell hitting someone. And I realized, and here's a fun fact, pro tip, if you will. Um, if you're looking at that and you like slow it down so that way you can kind of see like the shell break apart, which it does have this kind of cool like it breaks apart and you see the parts shatter around the person as they writhe in agony.
Hmm.
But you can then quickly rewind that using the analog stick and then make it hit them again, and you just create like it doesn't erase the first shattered shell,
Oh, really?
So at one point I had like 4 or 5 shattered shells up in the air, and then I decided to stop because I thought I might break the system.
Yeah,
So see
probably.
how many shattered shells you can get before the system just breaks and blows up.
And then you can post those to Meverse.
Yes, and YouTube. I heard
Oh,
this morning that the YouTube functionality went live, which it's
oh,
like, come
cool.
on, guys. Like,
Yeah,
I could have taken that disclaimer out of my review
yeah.
because I wasn't able to test that, but I'll be doing that later today. So you might see some dumb things that I did up on YouTube.
Could you post to Meverse yet? Is the community
Yeah,
up yet?
yeah, you can.
It is. Okay.
But that was also, we were with the embargo. We were allowed a specific limited amount of direct feed footage, and the Miiverse posting counted as it. So
Counted. Oh, man.
I kind of shot away from that because I was like, I'll just let Jared have as much breathing room as possible.
Yeah, for the review. Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. So let's talk about the battle mode, which it sounds like it was pretty disappointing for you. Um, I think the battle mode has this sort of legacy of being like just, I mean, just amazing. I mean, I think of playing Mario Kart 64 and playing Block Fort. I think was the famous level.
Actually, I not necessarily in preparation for this review, but back at PAX East, I played some Mario Kart 64, I played some Mario Kart Wii, and very much in preparation for this review, I played some Double Dash earlier this week.
Hmm.
Um, the battle mode in Double Dash in Mario Kart 64 is still fun.
Yeah.
Mario Kart Wii don't really care for it. But Mario Kart 64, I realized that the actual racing in Mario Kart 64 is complete crap now. It looks like garbage. However, battle mode is still amazing.
Still fun. Yeah.
And I don't really know what happened. They seem to have this weird focus on having teams, making it timed, just having it be this kind of this big free for all where there's too much room to do anything. And I just think of how Mario Kart 64 worked so well because those maps were made for 4 people to have them be in close quarters for the most part.
Hmm.
And it just seems like they completely lost that, where they had like these weird segmented rooms. Like I just remember that honeybee hive level that I think it was in like DS and then in 7 or something, and that sucked. And it's like I don't know where along the line they forgot how battle mode was fun, but they did.
Yeah.
Because I did have a couple moments, and I saw some of the reviews mention that like, oh, it kind of grew on me.
Hmm.
And it almost had the reverse feeling on me. Because the first couple matches, I went into it being like, all right, battle mode's gonna suck. Like they ruined it. And the first couple times I played it, it was just me and one friend playing against the computer, and we had fun. And then we realized it was almost a crapshoot because if you wound up near other people, and you could try to dodge stuff and hit them, then it was great. But as people, because the way it works is that you have 12 people on the track because it's a modified version of courses. There's
Of the
only 2
existing
to choose
courses. Yeah.
from. And you have 12 people on the track, but as they die, then they turn into ghosts. And as a ghost, you can still do things. You can still fire items, but they don't count towards like your point total. It would just detract from other people.
Hmm.
Because the way it works, and I think this is the way it was in 7 as well, is that you get points for having all of your balloons at the end of for a point for each balloon you have at the end of the match, and you also get a point for every kill you get on other people.
Hmm.
But when you're a ghost, you can take points away from people by getting rid of the balloon, but that doesn't count towards your point total.
Okay. So you're just like
Thing is
trolling
that-
people, not helping
yeah,
yourself.
but the thing is that there's no map or anything. So unless you're playing on the gamepad there is a map that shows where if you're a ghost, it shows where you are. It doesn't. I don't think it shows where the other ghosts are. And then you kind of drive around aimlessly looking for people unless you have that map. In which case, then you're like, oh, that guy's on the other half of the map. I guess maybe I'll try to turn around. No, he turned around. All right, I guess we're just gonna go on a random circuit.
So yeah, it sounds like the levels are just too big. Is that?
Yeah. Like I wish they were just focused arenas. And there was the comment from, I don't know if it was the director, someone affiliated with the development of this game, that they were like, oh, we wanted to have like this kind of jousting match that would go from a lot of people frantically attacking each other and whittle it way down to one, which works when the people are close together.
Hmm.
But I've had many times when I played battle mode where the last minute of it would be 4 people trying to find each other.
Hmm.
It's like a bad romantic comedy. Like, all right, guys, they got in a fight and they're mad. Now they can't find each other. In the last seconds, they find each other, but then nope, time's up. They both got 2 balloons. Move on.
Right, because it's got the timer. Yeah, that kind of sucks. You can do well. I mean, obviously, if you've been playing it with that many people, but so there's you can do battle mode online and locally.
Yeah, yes. However,
Yeah,
battle online, it's not as easy.
not as easy.
It's like nestled in a custom mode, and it's weird.
Oh,
Like there's,
really?
yeah, it's like they kind of. It seems like they hide it.
Maybe. So locally, you would do it with 4 people, and then the rest just be computers.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you do it with just 4 people? Like, can you set it with no AI, or does it have to be filled out
I
by
don't know
the
if
AI?
I'd recommend that. I think you can,
But the levels would just be too
and
big to
yeah,
be.
and I think that's part of the reason why I never even tried it was because
Yeah,
I'd rather just go to Wii mode and play Mario Kart 64.
yeah. Um, Before we go to any questions, if anyone has any, maybe talk a little bit about the new items. I'm watching your video review here, and like I'm seeing the boomerang flower and things like that. Were there any new items that stuck out to you, good or bad?
The boomerang flower is pretty cool. It
How does that work?
basically
Can you keep using it as long as you
so
catch it?
well you have 3 uses of it.
Okay.
And so you can throw it forward or backward, and then it like will eventually come back to you, and sometimes it'll hit people on the way back. But
Oh,
it's
nice.
almost like when you first throw it, you kind of almost use it like a grain shell, where you're kind of just throwing it in front of you, trying to
To
hit
see what
someone
happens.
directly.
Yeah.
Um, and then it'll come back to you. But if before it comes back to you, if you pick up another item block, then you lose it.
Oh, okay.
Um, but then you still, I mean, you can wait for it to come back to you, and then you have your 3 uses.
Yeah.
The piranha plant, I thought would be a lot cooler than it was. It wasn't really that. It's kind of novel because it's goofy because you're holding this piranha plant. The piranha plant is probably my favorite power up in Super Mario 3D World.
Hmm.
I mean, the cat suit is amazing, but I just love carrying around that piranha plant and going up to people that you're playing co-op with and completely trolling them.
Yeah.
Um, but the piranha plant's kind of hard to control. Like you'll get a lot of boosts from it, but it just I could never really figure out exactly what it would go after and how it would carry me. And it's like almost like a harder version to control of the super mushroom. I think that or no, what is that? The mushroom where you boost a lot, because I think the regular mushroom is just a super mushroom. I don't know that.
The golden mushroom you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah, I don't.
the gold mushroom is probably
Yeah.
the name for it. It's kind of like a harder to control version of the bullet bill and the gold mushroom.
Okay.
So I mean, and that kind of makes it a little disappointing, is because it's kind of like, oh, it's like these 2 other items I already can get. But then, like the piranha plant can mess with other people.
Can damage.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and get rid of obstacles as well. Because like if you're about to hit a banana peel, then nope, piranha plant ate it.
Oh, cool.
And then the super horn, there was one time where someone I was playing with used it as a blue shell. I probably played, I don't know, 100 matches, probably more. And there was one time where someone used a super horn to get rid of a blue shell.
Now, is that just because it doesn't come very often, or just it's
Well,
hard? You have
it's a
to
mix of
time
the
it right?
two. It's like the timing. Like I actually tried to use the super horn to get rid of a red shell and missed the timing completely.
Okay.
That's hard. The timing of the blue shell is pretty easy because the way the blue shell comes up is that it's on the ground, and then when it gets to the player in first, it'll kind of go up in the air and almost taunt you, and then slam down and blow up. So
Hmm.
when it goes up to taunt you, then you could use the super horn. Like they kind of like they're lenient with the timing of defending
Okay.
yourself from the blue shell. But it's just kind of this. It's almost like it has to be this perfect confluence of having the 2 items, where
Right.
you need to have the super horn to be in first place, and then someone needs to throw a blue shell at you. Like
Right.
I did have one time where I was in second place and used the super horn because I was like, well, what's the use of that? And then I passed the person in first place like 5 seconds later, and then a blue shell hit
Got
me,
hit by a blue shell. Yep.
which is just like, damn. Like I was just like, oh, I'll get another item because then I can protect my back, and
Mhm.
not thinking that a blue shell would get me. But it just, I mean, it's nice that there's something to defend against a blue shell, but people that are like, oh, this saves the balance, it's incredible. Like, not, I mean, it sort of.
Mhm.
And that's the one thing that I've seen a lot of people talk about this, and as someone who I played a ton of Mario Kart Wii. I don't think the balance in Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 is all that different.
Really.
Maybe it does skew a little bit like more forgiving in Mario Kart 8, but like there's still a lot of blue shells. It's all kind of luck of the draw, and I mean, it's random and everything, and it does seem like when you're in first place, you get like better items. It seems.
Hmm.
Then usually like you just kind of like, oh, another banana, great. And it does seem like you get slightly better items, but that's also they did change how items work, and we've talked about it before, how you can only hold one at a time.
I was going to ask you about that, how you felt that sort of changed the gameplay
I
at all.
I like it. It does make it where you need to be almost a little more, I guess, kind of a little more mindful.
Hmm.
Because I'd have a lot of times when I'm in first place and I'd be driving around with a banana, and maybe I'll let go of the banana before I pick up a new item block and kind of take the risk.
Right.
Um, but then that's like that calculated risk where you're like, okay, before this item, the roulette goes and then I can use it. Will anything hit me? And it's a chance that you take, and I think it does kind of add a little. It tweaks the strategy in, I think, a better way. Um, it just makes it so you can hoard less. I think it makes items less of a factor,
Hmm.
which is probably better for the game as a whole.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Well, did we have any questions? Did you get any tweets?
I'm checking. It's looking like no. Sadness.
Well, that's okay.
Well, no, Scott, I know you're hella excited for this game.
I am.
So, what's your take on it so far?
Well, having never played it, um, my take is I'm still excited. I mean, watching this gameplay that Jared recorded, I mean, it just looks beautiful, and
It
like,
does.
and here and reading your review and hearing your thoughts here, it sounds like some of your issue was, well, a the single player, it's over pretty quick. I mean, you said what you did everything in 5 hours.
Yeah, about that. Like, I think I might have been missing a character or something, but
Yeah,
I was, as far as outside of unlocking characters, like I was personally done with playing it in the single player at probably the 4 or 5 hour mark. Which,
yeah,
if you're going to primarily be playing this in single player, it's really disappointing.
right. And see,
Um,
that doesn't really, like we were talking about before we recorded. That's not such a huge deal for me because my wife and I will play through it probably entirely
yeah,
together. I don't know that I'll ever play by myself unless I'm just playing online by myself. So I'm excited to go through the Grand Prix with her and then probably
and you
play
could even
online with
take
her
your wife
too.
online. Which,
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually really excited about that.
yeah,
The
I
battle
think I
mode,
think if you are able to play this game consistently with people in multiplayer, whether it is something online where maybe you're on Skype to talk to your friends during races, or
hmm.
you have friends nearby that you can play it locally with, um, then that's probably then like if you were to grade it solely on that, then this game's amazing.
Yeah,
But looking at it as kind of the entire package,
sure.
and as someone who, not that I do play Mario Kart. I probably, for me, it's an even split where I'll play it single player and then also play it multiplayer when I have friends around.
Hmm.
And the multiplayer is still really fun, but the single player really hurt it for me. And I mean, the fact is that there's nothing like, if you were to degrade the graphics and tell me this is Mario Kart Wii, I wouldn't doubt you. And to me, that's kind of an issue.
Hmm.
For other people, that might not be, but that's kind of where I stand on it. Is that I don't see it as that wholly different than Mario Kart Wii. A lot of the interface is the same, and I actually kind of like some things that Mario Kart Wii did a little better. I mean, the online in 8 is far and away way better.
Hmm.
Not that Mario Kart Wii's online was fine, although we only got another like 5 days before that shit goes away.
Yeah. So if you play Mario Kart Wii, do it now.
um, but I was actually talking about this with former staff member Mike Gammon, who's a huge Mario Kart fan, and he asked me like how many stars, because when you beat a Grand Prix, you either just barely get it, or you get like 1 stars, 2 stars, or 3 stars, and that made me think about how part of the reason why I got so deep into Mario Kart Wii was that they had these kind of ridiculous characters locked away at specific intervals.
Hmm.
Where like, okay, if you beat 150cc on like 3 stars, and you get Dry Bowser, you get
Right.
Funky Kong. Like, I mean, dumb characters, but characters I wanted to see. I wanted to be able to play as, even though I probably played as them once and then just stuck to Koopa Troopa.
Hmm.
Um, and those were locked away by beating it at 3 stars, and that kind of made me want to get 3 stars, and it encouraged me to do better at the game. Whereas with this is maybe it's for the best that some of the stuff's locked away behind much less stringent restrictions, it kind of makes the single player feel boring because it's just like you don't really need to do that good. You just kind of need to eke into first place, and then you get everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, it kind of demanded you be the fucking badass at the game in order
Right.
to win.
Plus, I think
And
at
there
this
is there
point,
is a reward for getting 3 stars and everything, but if you don't know what it is, it doesn't really seem worth it.
no.
It's not quite as bad as like getting 1,000,000 coins in New Super Mario Brothers 2 and just getting an alternate title screen. It's not
Yeah.
that bad, but it's still not that exciting.
Okay.
And I kind of like if they did have like in all honesty, if I heard that there was a bigger reward for getting 3 stars in every cup, I'd probably do it. But
Mhm.
once I heard what that was, then I'd stop trying because it didn't seem worth it or
Right.
interesting to me.
Well, I was gonna say too, I think maybe part of the issue is I think with Mario Kart we didn't know pretty much all the unlockable characters going in. Like I think Dry Browser, I mean that was a surprise if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Whereas I feel like everyone was pretty much revealed, right? I mean, did you
Yeah.
unlock any characters you didn't already know about?
Nope.
I didn't
There's
think so.
rumors of DLC. Like I think there was some like ad for it in a foreign country that had like Diddy Kong as a
Oh, okay.
racer, and he's not in it, so maybe he'll be DLC.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean it was all people I knew of,
Yeah.
um, and even the Koopalings, which kind of factored into the marketing, like they're all locked at the start, but it's
Hmm.
like I had a friend come over who had heard a little bit about the game and really wanted to be Lemmy Koopa. I don't really know why. Iggy's the best, clearly. But he really wanted to be Lemmy Koopa, and I haven't unlocked him yet. He's like, damn it. And it's like you have all this focus on some of these characters, and then it's like that. Yeah, they're like that would have been such a great surprise. I was mentioning before we started airing it live that like if I was playing that game, beat a Grand Prix, and they're like, you unlocked Roy Koopa, I would have shit my pants.
Right, if you hadn't already
Like
known
that would
it.
have been incredible. Granted, I probably would have thrown my Wii out a window when it's like, here's Pink Gold Peach. I would have just been like, all right, now guys, I'm out. Like, what's this?
This is not working. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I think they kind of ran into that problem with Smash Brothers, where it was like, oh, Sonic and Snake are in the game.
Yeah,
Oh, but you have to unlock them, and I mean, it wasn't immediately clear how you even unlocked them.
yeah,
And it took a little while to unlock them, but they
yeah.
used them in so much of the promotion.
That's
Um,
about. Oh man, I didn't realize like because I don't know if it's going to be a simultaneous worldwide release, but I do remember with Smash Brothers Brawl when that finally came out in America, I basically had a roadmap of how to unlock everybody.
mhm.
That's gonna be a mind bender if I have no idea. Because I remember Melee was, I mean that was more because I was like 13 when Melee came out and the internet wasn't as widely known. But I
Right.
remember like
So
still being like, how do you get Mewtwo?
yeah,
It's like then I left my system on overnight or something. I forget
to
exactly.
do it, yeah, you had to play so many hours, so you
Yeah.
just let it run the whole time. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm kind of excited. I hope there's some dumb unlock stuff for that.
Yeah. I'm sure
Because
there
I
will be.
do like having that kind of like you need to beat this challenge mode in order to unlock this character because it's a tangible reward.
Right. Well, it's like the carrot on the stick, right? It gets you to play the game.
Yeah,
It's like
version of
better
achievement.
version of like achievements or something, where it's getting you to play the game in ways maybe you wouldn't normally.
Yeah,
But you
I'm
actually get a
looking at that. I'm
tangible
looking at
reward.
that right now with Octodad,
Yeah.
where I've only played like 4 levels of that game. It's not even that long of a game, but it's just that like I'm like, oh, how do I get that trophy? And then I go back into the level and in free play and just screw around and then find out like, oh, if I throw the wedding ring from across the room onto my wife's finger, then I'm a happy Octodad. And I think that's what kind of kills me with Mario Kart 8 is that there's no real drive. Like I guess the kind of reward that they have for the time trials is stamps for Miiverse.
Mhm.
Um, and the reward for the time trials of Mario Kart Wii was Toadette, which arguably isn't any better. But still, like that's a tangible thing that you can use in the game. For me, the stamps are neat, but that's what like I mean you compare it to something like Super Mario 3D World, which also had stamps as a carrot on the stick. But for me, the joy of getting those stamps was finding out where the stamp was and trying to get it.
Right. You had to like physically find it in the level. Yeah.
And also, and I know, I mean, this is probably also kind of conflicting stuff from people preferring different things because I've heard people complain that how they wish that Super Mario 3D World didn't have stuff gated by collectibles. For me, I have no problem with that, even though there's no way in hell I'm ever going to find that I'm ever going to play that last level in Super Mario 3D World. because there's so many. Like, I'm not going through it to get all those damn flagpoles. Like, nope, nope, you lost me, game.
You should. That last level is insane.
I've heard it's very cool. I haven't even watched a YouTube video because I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll do it someday.
Yeah.
But to me, Super Mario 3D World's a game that kind of does that carrot on the end of the stick right, because it has tangible things that you unlock by doing that.
Yeah.
It makes it worthwhile to go through that. Whereas with Mario Kart 8, the single player isn't worthwhile. It's a means to an end to unlock some characters. And you play multiplayer with your friends when you're bored on a Friday night and drinking beer.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like a bad Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. When I give it a 7.5, it's not like I'm like, this is a piece of shit. Like, I still really enjoyed the game. It's just that it disappointed me. It wasn't exactly what I wanted and hoped for in the new Mario Kart.
Sure.
I did want a single player experience, because I think about something like Sonic and All-Star, what the hell's the name of it? Sonic and All-Star Racing Transformed, I think.
Yeah.
That's what the name of it is.
Pretty sure.
But I look at a game like that, and I think of the single player mode in that, and I think of how that was the majority of the time that I spent with that game, and I probably spent close to a dozen hours playing that single player mode, and I loved it. It was challenging. It was fun. There were awesome, like you unlocked like a weird Sega system character if you beat that, which I never did because it's hard as shit. But like, that is the ultimate carrot on the end of the stick, like a completely bonkers character that I didn't even know about when I first started playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's like, that single player mode is what I wish Mario Kart did, and they didn't do that. They just did what they always did.
Right.
However, the multiplayer Mario Kart, way better than Sonic Racing, but that's mostly because people know what Mario Kart is. And when I played Sonic Racing with other people, they'd be like, "Holy shit, I'm flying a plane!"
Yeah, well, every lap the game was different. Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, what, the Skies of Arcadia was cool. What the fuck is happening? I don't even know what a Panzer Dragoon is.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap this up. As you just mentioned, you gave the game a 7.5. You can read Neal's review at NintendoWorldReport.com. You can watch the review at NintendoWorldReport.com or at the Nintendo World Report channel on YouTube. Yeah, I guess. I mean, any final thoughts? I mean, if you're a fan of Nintendo World Report, a community, forum member and stuff like that, I imagine we'll be doing community nights pretty soon once the game comes out.
Maybe someone with a little more fervor for the game than me. Scott, you can take it up.
Yeah, exactly. I'll handle it.
Because that was the thing, me doing the Mario Golf stuff, and that shit only lasted a week. Although we are going to be doing another Mario Golf tournament with a reward. Whoever wins it will get a downloadable code for either, I think, Advance Wars or Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Wii U.
Oh, nice.
Or maybe both. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but that's kind of why those have languished for a little bit, because I've been trying to plan of what I'm going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been focused on Mario Kart and other games, because I basically played Mario Golf for like a month. Like
before anyone.
I put 30 plus hours into that game, and I needed a break.
Yeah.
And even if that break cut off me setting up these tournaments, it was just kind of like, no, I need to play other games.
Yeah.
Although I totally am going to go back to Mario Golf. I love that game.
Cool. Well, yeah, so keep an eye out for that, and I guess that will do it. So, Neal, thanks for being here, talking about Mario Kart 8.
Thanks for having me, I guess, even though I think this is my idea.
Yeah, probably, but yeah, what are you going to do?
But I guess, yeah, my final words are, if you don't like my review, I am sorry. If you think that you are going to enjoy this game and you read the other more positive reviews and agree with them, that's awesome. I hope you really enjoy the game. I hope you enjoy it more than I did. I do hope that anyone who plays this game does not enjoy it less than I did, which probably will happen. Not saying that like I'm at the bottom of the barrel here, but like it'll bum me out if people don't enjoy Mario Kart that much.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they enjoy it, even if I am on the lower end of the spectrum.
Sure. All right, well, there you go. So thanks for watching, everybody,
Thank you.
and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.